Hi, friends. Welcome to the second episode of 8 at 3, the chat show. Chat show. It's not even a show, but it's okay. It's a show where we talk about some themes in certain surahs of the Qur'an, and we relate them to real life events to make it more relatable for those of you who might be new to Islam or who might be still searching for something. So I hope that this is of benefit to you somehow. Today we're going to be talking about Surah Al-Fiil, which translated to English, the title of the surah is the elephants. So Fiil is elephant. This surah goes into the historical perspective. It doesn't go into the historical perspective of what happened to the Meccans who had to defend themselves and the Kaaba against Abraha, who was a tyrannical person, hell-bent on bringing his troops from Yemen to destroy the Kaaba, which is even back then it was the premier place of worship, and for Muslims it was a sacred place also, obviously, back then. The whole surah actually talks more about the lessons to be learned from that event rather than the event itself. So yeah, let's have a listen to what themes we can glean from the surah. The first lesson that we can learn from Surah Al-Fiil is actually that we should never give up. Never give up, even when it seems like the odds are against you. And this is interesting because I think it's quite relatable at the very moment for me, because as you know, we had a lot of problems with the first episode of 8 at 3, which was the one with Surah Al-Waqi'ah. So I faced a lot of obstacles and just lots of technical and logistical problems that made me really, it was like I was having a full-time job producing that episode, and then I had to keep on uploading it, and it wouldn't upload, and it got copyrighted and whatever. So that was actually a huge test of patience. It was a huge test of patience. It was a huge test of perseverance, I think, because I spent 5 days a week on it, just working on it over and over again because it kept on screwing up, right? So anyway, it then brings me back to the surah that we are talking about today, Surah Al-Fiil, which it's a lesson in teaching us not to give up and not to let obstacles in our path or seemingly insurmountable issues ruin our faith, ruin our or destroy our spirit, break our spirit. Because what happened during that time was actually quite major, and the Meccans didn't allow the things that happened to break their spirit. They held on to their faith in Allah, and even at the very brink of despair, they were still praying for Allah to save them. And save them Allah did, right? ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا عبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. Basically, the surah is very brief, talks about the historical event in a very concise manner. The first verse, do you not see how the Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant, so Abraha's armies and troops, right, on the elephants? The second verse, did he not make their treacherous plan go astray? This is in the Qur'an, and it's, as you know, some parts of the Qur'an are very, historical in that aspect. Some are very literary. For instance, like the phrasing of Surah Ar-Rahman, the repetitions of فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. It's poetry. To me, it is. There is a certain music to it, even without music, right? And then the third verse of Surah Al-Fiil, and he sent against them the flights of birds. So there were flights of them. So it wasn't just one or two birds. It was, so many birds that filled the skies. And then the fourth verse, striking them with stones of clay. And these stones that the birds dropped upon the armies who were threatening to destroy the Kaaba were burning hot. They were like embers of coals that were from hellfire. So when the birds dropped them on the army, it was quite catastrophic. The final verse of Surah Al-Fiil, the direct translation is like, didn't he make them like an empty field of stalks and straw, and like corn that has been eaten up? It's very literal, and you will find various translations, English translations of this verse, but the gist of it is you could be a full-on army that's really powerful, like nothing can ever disrupt you, can ever stop you, so you're indestructible in 1 minute, and then the next minute you are like an empty field of straw and corn that has been eaten up. You're just worthless, you're useless, and you are powerless. Basically, the surah teaches us to be mindful of our ego and our prides, because at any point in time, you could be Fir'aun, you could be, the Pharaoh himself, and you could, the next minute, become powerless. So this ties in with the COVID-19 situation that we have here. We used to have a lot of rich people, we used to have a lot of, very powerful people, we used to have stars, artists, popular people, and then suddenly overnight they became penniless, they became powerless, they became stuck in their houses, and they couldn't go anywhere, they couldn't earn any income, they couldn't do the things that they once used to be so proud of. They had LV bags and everything in their houses, they can't go anywhere with them. So this is the power that Allah has to remind us, to bring us back down to earth, right? Because it only takes something that's as small as a virus, that's unseen, that's so microscopic from Allah, and that could be the thing that brings us down, that destroys us. And only Allah can make us see that. And through the surah, it's actually quite clear that this is what we as human beings have to be mindful of when it comes to our pride, our arrogance, being mindful of our place in this world. These are unprecedented times where you can't even buy, toilet paper, you can't even buy instant noodles, things like that, even if you had a lot of money, even if you have all the money in the world, but you can't even buy anything that you need, all these necessities. The worth of a loaf of bread became even more expensive, more valuable than gold, so to speak, right? So in times like this, what do you think of yourself? What is your response to something like this? Do you feel like you are still as powerful and almighty as you were before? I think with times like these, it has caused a lot of people to take a step back and to assess themselves, to assess their lives, their lifestyle choices, their views in life, and what is important to them. Because even when you go back to the beginning, there were people who just immediately lost the value of their shares overnight. That was the immediate effect. And then when airlines became grounded, borders were closed, no traveling and all that, all these people who used to post so proudly their travel pictures on social media and do it for the gram, what happened to them? They can't do anything now, and they're pulling their hair out at home, thinking that, oh no, I'm going to lose my followers because I don't have any travel pictures to post. And the hotels that were once, so high and mighty and so haughty that, you would have to book, make a reservation, 2 months in advance if it's a popular hotel, or you want to ask them for sponsorships. They're like, yeah, we'll think about it and all that. Where are they now? They're now closed. They're bleeding money. They are not getting a single occupant, and this all happened overnight. So as the COVID-19 situation progresses, and we have been, kept locked up inside, indoors for much longer than we originally thought. It's been a month, more than a month now, that sort of thing, and it's going to be extended. And even our neighboring country, Malaysia, has also extended it has kept on extending its lockdown period, and for the best, right? But during this time, people are losing incomes, people are not being able to work, and those who are unable to work from home, because not everyone has the luxury to do that, people are getting laid off, people are suffering financially. And all this because of a small micro entity that is not even, it's like the stones from the ababil. It's like the stones from the birds. And the stones have just come to destroy us en masse. And it's quite sobering in a very inspiring way, because for me personally, I really had to take a step back. But I mean, not that I was living in luxury or anything like that, but a lot of the things that we took for granted, all the things that, that God gave us before, a job and things like that, were suddenly not options anymore. I mean, not that it's a new situation for me, but when you are put into that situation, most people are not. Most people are not tested like that. So it seems like a lot of people are very depressed and everything. And to me, I'm taking it, I'm taking it as it comes. I'm quite zen about it. Probably because I'm used to adversity. I'm very used to being tested. I'm very used to all these things that have happened, suddenly and massively in my life. So when you are tested with those things, what is your response? The Islamic thing would be to go back to Allah. Instead of spending so much time on worldly things, on work and everything, maybe this is the time for us to go back to the prayer mat, to our prayer suit, to our 5 daily prayers, and to actually go back to our relationship with Him and to revisit it. It's something that is personal to me as well, because for the past few years I've been working like a dog through Ramadan and everything, but this year this is different, and it's reminders like these. So friends, let us take Surah Al-Fiil as a very good reminder of how we should conduct ourselves on this earth, and in relation to our views of how high and mighty we are. Because even if small birds can destroy a whole army of elephants by God's grace, then there is nothing that is beyond Allah's power. So for us to seek solace, to seek help in anything but Him would be quite futile, right? So I guess the message of today's episode is that we really should go back to our humble roots, especially during these times, these unprecedented, trying and very difficult times, and reflect upon what it means to be the humble servants that we truly are. We need to reflect on who our masters should be, because we have, at least I have always been a servant of Allah. Yes, I know that, but then my deeds, my daily, obsession with work and everything, it reflects that I have enslaved myself to this world. Because of that, I'm quite ashamed. And to come back to Him, to be given the privilege to come back to Him during these times, during Ramadan, is really, it's a privilege beyond measure indeed. So for those of you who are perhaps too ensconced in this world, if you feel that you've been taken away from what you're truly meant to be enslaved to, in that sense, it's not too late. It's never too late. So let's spend these last few nights of Ramadan going back to Allah, and hopefully after that also, after Ramadan, I hope that we can all still remain connected, and that we are never again caught up in the egos that we have built up, because we're like, we have a good job, we have a good business going, we have money that can buy anything, but we need to realize that sometimes, and especially during these times, money cannot buy you everything. Money cannot buy your health. Money cannot buy you certain things that are in short supply. Money cannot buy you freedom. Money cannot buy you travel. Money cannot buy you anything. But Allah can give you all those things. So with that, I end this session with perhaps an invocation. It's not really a dua, but it's just something to share with you. Basically what we can recite every time we're in need of Allah's help it's very simple. Rahman ya Rahman, Sa'idni ya Rahman. So Rahman is one of the 99 names of Allah, right? That is, the most merciful, benevolent. Whereas Sa'idni ya Rahman just refers to please help me ya Rahman. So every time even something small happens to you and you need to run for the bus, for instance, because you'd be late for work, you can just say that, Rahman ya Rahman, Sa'idni ya Rahman, Sa'idni ya Rahman, and let me know if that works in your life. Well, take care, and until the next episode of 8 at 3, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.